Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at 10 games you may not have known were released on the PlayStation 2. Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Persona 4. When talking about Persona 4, we often talk about the expanded version made for the PlayStation Vita, Persona 4 Golden. It's understandable because this is the definitive version of the game with a new character, a more fleshed out story, more cosmetics, the whole 9 yards. It is also the version that is most heavily marketed, but what's crazier is when it was released.
Special guests! I wonder how they'll play into all this. Things are really heating up.
By the time 2008 rolled around, most folks had ditched their PS2s for the brand new PS3. Some companies were still putting out games on PlayStation 2, but they were few and far between. That said, we wouldn't be surprised if some folks fell for some sort of Mandela effect and thought Persona 4 debuted on PS3 instead of the predecessor.
It seems like she has a strong connection to this castle. This is a lot more dangerous than I thought.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Could use some help.
As it launched in late 2006, it seemed like Marvel Ultimate Alliance was being made available on every platform imaginable. On October 26, 2004, the game had launched on 6 separate platforms: Xbox, PC, Game Boy Advance, PlayStation Portable, Xbox 360, and, of course, PlayStation 2. Although, which version do you think folks were grabbing at the time? Well, not the GBA version, of course, but most people were buying the newest game for their Xbox 360s. For the hardcore Sony fans, the PS3 was right around the corner, and Marvel Ultimate Alliance was going to be a launch title. No matter which new console you were on, there was a version of MUA with better graphics. So what reason was there in picking up the PS2 version unless you simply could not afford a new console at the time? And so, the PS2 version was left behind and forgotten about, along with that god-awful GBA version. Do not play Marvel Ultimate Alliance on GBA. Please, just don't. Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. Overall, just about every version of The Force Unleashed is roughly similar in level design. Every story beat and every boss fight, too. The only real difference was visuals, of course, but the PS2 version has been largely forgotten about in favor of the newer consoles. Just like with Marvel Ultimate Alliance, The Force Unleashed just objectively looked better on PS3 and Xbox 360. That isn't to say the PS2 version looked awful. For the platform's limitations, it looked great and played just as good. It's just that when you present the shiny version made for higher-end hardware and the version that is now on a near-decade-old console, well, which one do you think folks are going to be more inclined to buy?
And with you leading us, we have the power of the Force on our side. Therefore, let this be an official declaration of rebellion.
The Operative. No one lives forever.
Why not?
To your left, on the far balcony.
Boring.
Well, it is a...
By the time The Operative came to PS2, it had already been available for PC and only PC. You wanted to play the game? Get a good PC. Not only was it made specifically for that platform, it also boasted really solid visuals. The PS2 version, on the other hand, failed to show why people were raving about this game in particular.
You can't hide from me, Volkov. I'll find you wherever you go.
Kill her, you incompetent fools!
While the performance was a little rougher here than it was on PC, the biggest problem was the lack of key features that PC players benefited from, such as quick saving. So really, what reason did folks have to buy this version, even if they only had a PS2 and not a PC?
You're wasting your time. I won't talk. I have been trained to resist all forms of torture.
We'll see about that.
Cell damage. When the 6th generation of consoles launched, Electronic Arts tried to get ahead of the vehicular combat craze ignited by Twisted Metal with this cartoony cult classic. GameCube and Xbox owners found some enjoyment in Cell Damage with its more hectic pacing and inspiration pulled from various forms of animation. PS2 players were left out in the cold, and most would still be left out even after it came to PS2 in 2002. Why? Because only Europeans were able to buy Cell Damage for PS2, and even then, it wasn't the same version that everybody else had played before. It wasn't until 2014 when the game was remastered for PS4, PS3, and Vita, and that was when the entire world got to experience the Europe-exclusive version. Namco Cross Capcom. If this game does not ring any bells, well, it shouldn't, unless you're deeply ingrained in Japan-only releases or the many crossover games of Namco and Capcom from the past several decades. Namco Cross Capcom was one of the first massive crossovers between two Japanese gaming giants, and it came in the form of a tactical RPG. The gimmick here was that your attacks functioned similarly to a traditional fighting game, but with simplified controls. Make the right inputs, and you could deal an insane amount of damage in a single turn. So long as you kept your unit's fatigue in check, you could make mincemeat out of almost any enemy. Sonic Heroes! Sorry, I had to do it.
Amy, knock it off! There's no time to play!
Everybody, get out of the way!
Are you playing with that girl's heart again, Sonic?
The early 2000s were an interesting time as Sega entered the decade with their exit from the console market and into Nintendo's clubhouse, strangely enough. Yes, Sega began forming a relationship with Nintendo despite years of aggressive slander during the 90s console wars. Perhaps their biggest sign of letting bygones be bygones was putting Sonic Adventure and its sequel as GameCube exclusives. This led to Sonic slowly becoming much more associated with Nintendo as a brand.
Smash them! Looks like there's a bunch of them! Come and get some!
So by the time Sonic Heroes came to PS2 3 weeks after the initial launch on GameCube, most kids had probably already picked up the GameCube version. Sonic Heroes did still sell a ton of copies between all three consoles, but we wouldn't be surprised if some people out there didn't even know about the PS2 version existing.
Don't get too excited, boys! Those were the easy ones!
Yes!
Death by Degrees. Sure, folks know what Tekken is. They know Tekken, many play Tekken, but few are really, embedded into Tekken. Only the latter group knows, though, about a certain spin-off we saw on the PS2. After Tekken 4 and Tekken 5, we got a whole game starring Nina Williams called Death by Degrees, a 3D beat-em-up where one analog stick controlled Nina while the other made her attack. Yeah, the controls were pretty awkward in execution, and the load times, man, the load times, they were horribly long. Ultimately, the game did not review well, and it's safe to say it did not sell a decent amount of copies. There's a reason why we don't get character-specific spin-offs in Tekken anymore. GrimGrimoire.
I swear by my soul, my lord.
Poor Vanillaware didn't get a massive hit under their belt until 2024 with Unicorn Overlord, and one of their very first games was largely ignored by players and critics. GrimGrimoire was a 2D RTS where you summoned fantastical creatures to harvest resources and protect your crystals from monsters.
If you can get them to cooperate, you'll find their magical bows quite useful.
That's not very nice, old man.
Review scores were okay at best, but between the unique gameplay and its release, it just wasn't what anybody was interested in at the time. You had an RTS made for consoles that had been released while people were buzzing about the PS3, the Xbox 360, and the Wii. It was basically a victim of circumstance. If it interests any of you out there and you want to see Vanillaware's early work, you can get the remastered version on modern hardware these days, under the name GrimGrimoire once more.
This can't be happening.
Denial is a petty way to protect oneself. But in the end, you will understand all.
And finally, Monster Hunter. In this day and age, everybody knows what Monster Hunter is, regardless if you have played any of the games or not, or if you even just saw the movie. It's Capcom's own MMORPG on PS5 that was originally on PS4, or it's that one game you played on PSP with your friends. But few ever remember the original game, which was released on PlayStation 2. And considering the time it came out, you can't really blame people for forgetting about it. September 2004 was a crazy month as we saw a ton of new games for already established franchises like Sly 2, Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, Silent Hill 4 The Room, Star Wars Battlefront, and Final Fantasy XI. Monster Hunter was the new kid on the block, and what was worse is that it was the new kid who came with middling review scores. Thank God Capcom stuck with it, am I right? Did you play any of these games on PS2 yourself? Let us know down in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great videos every day.
We have a date with Eggman too.
Is that so? Well then, it'll be a date to die for.
Hey, that's my line.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.